The afternoon, lights slanted through the tall windows of Sereno's office, catching dust motes drifting lazily in the still air. Outside, Newtown carried on with quiet industry as hammers tapped and carts rolled. Icanty voices blended with human conversation in steady rhythm. It was the kind of ordinary afternoon the Barony had fought hard to earn. Then, the door slammed open without warning. A young student pilot stumbled inside, face drained of color and flight jacket half-zipped. Sweat streaked the fabric as he braced himself against the wall. He looked as though the building itself might sway. He struggled for breath before delivering his report. An inbound shuttle had spotted a large armored military column moving toward the Barony. They were heavy and organized, with weapons signatures confirming hostile intent. The column would reach the borders within 2 hours, possibly less. Shet. The room seemed to shrink around the words. Sir Eno rose slowly from behind his desk, despite the tension tightening his jaw. He asked calmly if the pilot was certain of what he had seen. The pilot confirmed multiple APCs, support trucks, and heavy weapon signatures. Eno nodded once and sent the pilot back to his station. He ordered him to keep the skies clear and maintain visual confirmation. The pilot rushed out while already raising his communicator. Eno immediately instructed his aide to summon the sergeant major and Rachel below. For a brief second, Eno opened a secure military channel on his tablet. Static flickered before resolving into General Swallowtail's stern face. Eno reported the advancing armored column and asked if any authorized units operated nearby. The general's brow furrowed deeply at the news. Swallowtail confirmed he had no authorized forces in the sector. He suspected Colonel Wrenscott, recently relieved of command. The colonel had sworn to burn Newtown and kill Baron Staples. The general admitted he had no rapid response assets within range. The line went dead after that blunt admission. Eno stared at the blank screen and quietly thanked the general for his honesty. Moments later, the door opened again. The sergeant major entered briskly, with Rachel close behind. The sergeant major asked for orders without hesitation. Eno instructed him to muster defensive positions around Newtown and the main road approaches. Rachel stepped forward with urgent news about the Noranivo returning to orbit minutes earlier. Silence fell as Eno immediately ordered them to signal the ship. Aboard the Noranivo, the war room glowed with soft, tactical light. Displays floated midair, tracking trade routes and patrol rotations. Princess Clara stood centered with Wyatt and Cynthia reviewing mission logistics. An emergency transmission alert cut through the calm. Wyatt ordered the transmission patched through instantly. Sir Eno delivered a rapid and precise summary of the threat. There was no embellishment in his report, only facts. Princess Clara's expression hardened as she processed the information. She instructed Wyatt to take 2 Royal Marines along with Sir Leopold and Sir Declan. Cynthia volunteered to accompany them, but was denied firmly. Clara insisted someone must remain to guard her. Wyatt was already issuing encrypted combat orders as he moved. He commanded a shuttle prepared in full combat loadout with Wraith configuration enabled. Armored knights sprinted through the shuttle bay as engines roared to life. Wyatt slid into the pilot's seat with instinctive precision. Leopold strapped in behind him with a teasing remark about the paint job. Wyatt offered no promises as the shuttle launched violently. It blasted clear of the bay and plunged toward atmosphere. The descent was savage, with plasma flaring across the hull. Warning alarms chimed briefly before being dismissed. Clouds tore apart around the descending shuttle. The Barony spread beneath them like a dark ocean of forest canopy. Wyatt flared engines at the last second and slammed onto the shuttle pad in a storm of heat and wind. Fresh plating scorched beneath the impact. Wyatt glanced at the damage and admitted it might have been slightly aggressive. Leopold laughed as the ramp dropped open. Sir Eno and the Sergeant Major were already waiting on the pad. Wyatt immediately demanded a status update. A 5-man scout team was shadowing the column 10 kilometers out. The force consisted of heavy armor and 40 to 50 personnel. Wyatt decided they would intercept before the column reached town. Leopold asked about rules of engagement. Wyatt's eyes turned cold as he answered. They would offer the column a chance to turn back. If that offer was refused, consequences would follow. The decision was final. The armored column advanced through thick dust along the forest road. APCs led the formation with turret guns scanning lazily. They appeared confident and unchallenged. Then they stopped abruptly. 4 figures stood in the center of the road. Wyatt, the sergeant major, Sir Leopold, and Sir Declan faced the column without flinching. Engines idled as a hatch clanged open. Captain Sperritail descended with exaggerated confidence. V. declared himself commander of the column. Wyatt demanded his purpose within the barony. Sperritail announced intentions to kill the Baron, execute nobles, and burn everything. The threat hung openly in the air. The sergeant major asked whether Sperritail had reviewed the gallant venture footage. Sperritail blinked in confusion. The sergeant major reminded him that his superior had been relieved and ordered back to barracks. Sperritail shrugged and declared the mission unchanged. Wyatt calmly instructed him to turn around and go home. Sperritail began an insult directed at the princess. The words never finished. A single flash erased the captain in a burst of energy. The Royal Marines moved instantly into coordinated assault. Rockets screamed from concealed launchers and tore into APC armor. Explosions thundered across the road as soldiers were thrown through smoke and flame. Wyatt vanished as Wraith mode engaged. Hue became a blur flickering between visibility and shadow. Soul Snatchers fired with deliberate precision. Each shot neutralized its target without hesitation. Leopold and Declan advanced in synchronized arcs. Energy blades carved through resistance with ruthless efficiency. At the rear, Declan's Special Forces units swept in from tree cover. Retreat routes were cut off instantly. Shields flared around Wyatt as stray rounds struck harmlessly. None of the rebels possessed weapons capable of breaching his defenses. The engagement lasted less than 60 seconds. Engines sputtered and died as smoke drifted across the shattered road. Silence followed. 5. Wyatt stood amid the wreckage as his armor glowed faintly from dissipated energy. He scanned the horizon before lowering his weapon. The sergeant major approached and confirmed total elimination. Wyatt nodded once in acknowledgement. Holo. He casually asked what the special at the inn might be. Leopold laughed softly at the remark. They turned back toward the barony as dark clouds gathered beyond the forest canopy. This had been a rogue column and a warning. Somewhere far away, word would spread about what happened to those who marched on the barony of screaming forests. The forest did not scream today. It watched instead. It remembered. Smoke coils upward in lazy spirals above the ruined road. Burning APCs crackle as ammunition cooks off in distant popping bursts. Blackened metal lies twisted across the shattered roadway. The forest beyond the clearing stands silent and watchful. Wyatt lowers his weapon as the final echoes of combat fade into the wind. He casually asks what the special is at the inn today. No one answers immediately. The sergeant major studies him, unsure whether it was humor or something else. Eho. After a brief pause, the sergeant major replies that roasted root fowl is likely the special. Wyatt responds that he is starving. Behind them, Royal Marines sweep the area with mechanical precision. Thermal optics confirm there are no survivors. Sir Declan's Special Forces team emerges from the tree line streaked with soot and sap. He reports the perimeter clear and no escapees detected. Wyatt nods once and orders everything useful stripped from the wreckage. Salvage crews are to arrive within 10 minutes. The Sergeant Major acknowledges the order without hesitation. Wyatt glances at the destruction again. There is no triumph in his expression. Only calculation. A portable holotape bore hums to life at the temporary command post. A rotating tactical map of the Barony glows mid-air between them. Sir Eno stands opposite Wyatt with his hands folded behind his back. The atmosphere feels measured but tense. Eno confirms that General Swallowtail holds Colonel Renscat responsible. Wyatt notes that Renscat no longer has authorization. Eno replies that hatred does not require authorization. Wyatt keeps his eyes fixed on the map. Wyatt states that the attack was not random but a deliberate message. Rachel approaches with a datapad and reports intercepted communications. The rebels believed eliminating Wyatt would destabilize the region and spark uprising. Wyatt exhales slowly at the assumption. He explains that they misunderstand how power truly works. Eno asks him to clarify that statement. Wyatt answers that power consolidates quickly. He gestures toward the road and says the attack provided justification instead of intimidation. Rachel asks what exactly that justification is for. Wyatt answers with a single word: expansion. A subtle shift passes between them at that declaration. This is no longer merely about defense. By evening, the town square has filled with citizens who saw the smoke. Wyatt stands at the fountain's edge in scorched armor with a torn cape hem. The sergeant major stands behind him like a silent monument. There are no banners or podiums. Wyatt announces that a military column entered their territory that day. Murmurs ripple through the gathered crowd. He states their mission was to kill him and burn Newtown. Silence falls over the square. She declares simply that they failed. There is no pride in his tone. Only fact. He assures the crowd their homes still stand and their children are safe. A woman near the front wipes tears from her face. Wyatt warns them that the attackers came because they believed the barony was weak. The wind stirs cloaks and banners as he speaks. He states firmly that they are not weak. He decrees that no one will enter the barony without permission from this day forward. Thoughts hang heavy in the air. Sir Eno watches him closely. Rachel watches even more closely. Wyatt is no longer reacting to events, but shaping them. That night, the inn is louder than usual. Relief fills the room alongside ale and roasted meat. Wyatt sits with Eno, Rachel, and the sergeant major at a corner table. Their food remains untouched for several seconds. Rachel notes that he transferred 50 million credits earlier that day. Wyatt confirms without hesitation. Eno points out it was done without consultation. Wyatt confirms that as well. He outlines plans for infrastructure, defense grid expansion, sensor satellites, and trade incentives. His goal is to make the barony economically indispensable within a year. The sergeant major remarks that it is ambitious. Wyatt responds that it is necessary. He explains that next time he wants any threat facing a system, not merely a town. Rachel asks if he believes there will be a next time. Wyatt answers yes without hesitation. Thunder rolls faintly over the sea outside. Princess Clara stands in the Narenovos observation chamber with stars reflecting in the glass. Cynthia approaches quietly and asks if it is done. Clara confirms it is. Cynthia asks what that means. Clara states that Wyatt did not hesitate. Cynthia asks whether that surprises her. Clara replies that it does not. She says it confirms something important. Cynthia asks what has been confirmed. Clara answers that Wyatt is no longer just surviving. He is adapting. Below them, the planet turns slowly in the void. Rain begins to fall lightly across the wreckage site on the forest ridge line. Salvage teams work beneath portable floodlights, cutting metal in glowing arcs. A junior technician pauses while scanning the horizon. He reports detecting a long-range anomaly at the outer boundary. The sergeant major steps beside him and asks for clarification. The technician reports no matching transponder signal. The estimated arrival time is 30 minutes at current speed. The sergeant major looks toward Newtown's warm, distant lights. Jet He activates his communicator and informs Wyatt they may have another situation. Inside the inn, Wyatt's datapad vibrates on the table. The atmosphere suddenly tightens around them. Rachel asks what it is. Wyatt stands and answers with a single word. Company. Eno asks whether it is military. Wyatt replies that it is unknown. He orders double patrol rotations quietly. The sergeant major acknowledges the command. Laughter continues inside the inn, unaware of the shift. Outside, the wind strengthens across the square. Above the forest canopy, a faint white streak crosses the dark sky, too. It is not burning or crashing. It is arriving. Steps into the night, calmly. His hand rests lightly on his weapon. The battle ended quickly. The consequences are only beginning.